Michael Saylor just made his biggest move yet, and it could send Bitcoin straight to $150,000. If you thought that MicroStrategy was done accumulating Bitcoin, think again. They completely rebranded, doubled down on their Bitcoin strategy, and they are now the best performing stock on the stock market. And this even landed Saylor on the cover of Forbes magazine. But here's the thing, their next move is even bigger. It will shock the market, squeeze supply like never before, and it can send Bitcoin to unprecedented heights. So if you're holding Bitcoin, then you do not want to miss out on this video. And if you enjoy watching videos like this one, where I break down complex topics and developments within the world of crypto, money, and finances, then make sure to smash the like button and to subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be posting regular videos just like this one to help you to make sense of everything that is currently going on and to help you to maximize your profits. Now, let's dive in. Bitcoin to 150K soon. Saylor's biggest move will cause a massive supply shock. Now, in the world of investing, there is only one GOAT. And GOAT is not the animal. That's not what I'm referring to. I mean the acronym GOAT. It stands for the greatest of all times. And when you're studying different investors different investors in the space, you'll find that Warren Buffett is often quoted as the GOAT of investing, the greatest of all times, because he has amassed a fortune of around $150 billion throughout his investing journey, which is very impressive. But some experts are now saying that Michael Saylor is the new Warren Buffett, the new greatest of all times. Why? Because he spotted an opportunity in the market, which has helped him to generate billions, but has also helped MicroStrategy to become one of the best performing stocks on the stock market. So what is MicroStrategy exactly? Well, MicroStrategy was an early pioneer of web and business intelligence. So it's a software company helping other companies to make sense of all of the data that they are producing within their company so that they can get strategic advantages. Now, here is an article by BNN Bloomberg. MicroStrategy co-founder and chairman Michael Saylor decided to invest in Bitcoin in 2020 as a hedge against inflation. The firm initially used cash to make purchases and has shifted to using the proceeds from the issuance and sale of stock, as well as convertible debt, to leverage its buying power. All right, let's recap what we just mentioned. MicroStrategy was initially a software company helping others to make sense of the data within their business for strategic purposes. But since 2020, they made an analysis like, all right, we're making a bunch of money every single year. We're having profit. What are we going to do with that profit? Of course, we can redistribute some of those profits to our shareholders in the form of dividends. But what are we going to do with excess cash? Well, we could either put them in short-term treasury bonds and make a little percentage of yield, or we could invest it in gold or real estate or other investment vehicles. And after doing all of their analysis, they discovered that actually Bitcoin is the best performing asset class of the past decade. So Bitcoin generated 230% annualized returns between 2010 and 2020. And when Michael Saylor started to do his research and understand how Bitcoin worked, there was a moment when he realized he had to go all in with not only his own fortune, but also the treasury of the company. So that's when he started to accumulate Bitcoin. And here you see since 2020 all the way up to now to 2025, here you see all these yellow dots are moments that MicroStrategy started to accumulate Bitcoin. So they have actually started to buy Bitcoin no matter whether the price of Bitcoin pumped or dumped, whether they were buying tops or bottoms, they just consistently kept on buying and accumulating more Bitcoin. This is very similar to what we call a DCA strategy, a dollar cost average strategy. Just every period or whenever you've got cash available, you just accumulate more. And you don't do this only when the market pumps or dumps. You just do it consistently, regardless of what level the price of an asset is at. And that is what MicroStrategy has recently done or has been doing for the past 4 years. And it was actually the first publicly traded company that pioneered this Bitcoin treasury strategy. So buying up Bitcoin with this excess liquidity or excess reserves. And they actually went as far as recently rebranding from MicroStrategy to the new name Strategy. Here you see it was previously MicroStrategy, and now the logo is Strategy with this little Bitcoin on it. So Strategy, the Bitcoin strategy, basically. And they published a new website, which is a lot different from their previous website, and it's mainly focused on Bitcoin accumulation. So here you see on their website, you see a bunch of stuff like the price of MicroStrategy, so MSCR stock, the market cap of MicroStrategy stock, how much debt they have, volatility, how many Bitcoin they have. So at the moment I took this screenshot, they owned almost 480,000 Bitcoin. And you can see all of these different stats, which other publicly traded companies also report on their website. But this is more focused also on their Bitcoin strategy. So they adopted the KPIs that they are reporting. Here you see stuff like, for example, BSE return, which is correlated to the return that they have generated from the moment they started to adopt this Bitcoin treasury reserve strategy. So they're up almost 2,600%. And what I mentioned before, MicroStrategy is now one of the best, if not the best performing stock on the stock market. We talked about this chart already. So they became the best performing stock on the stock market because they accumulated so much Bitcoin. And now they're taking it to the next level. Here you see this overview of all of their purchasing dates. This is just from the past year, so 2024 up to now 2025. You can see here that every time that MicroStrategy buys Bitcoin, they buy thousands of Bitcoin, 12,000 Bitcoin, 9,200 Bitcoin. This was a small purchase, 122 Bitcoin, 12,000 Bitcoin, 170 Bitcoin, 180 Bitcoin, 18,000 Bitcoin, 7,000 Bitcoin, 27,000 Bitcoin, 51,000 Bitcoin, 55,000 Bitcoin. So basically they're buying thousands of Bitcoin every single month, if not 10,000s of Bitcoin. And they're doing this consistently. So they're gobbling up so much of the supply right now. And while Bitcoin or while MicroStrategy was previously a business-to-business company because they were selling software services to other companies that wanted to make sense of their data for strategic advantages, now they are starting to build what I call sort of a cult. So MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor, they are forming a cult around Bitcoin. So if you're believing in Bitcoin and, then one of the first things you're probably going to do is you're going to go to YouTube or X and you're going to binge watch a whole bunch of podcasts and videos from Michael Saylor. So I would say almost at this point, Michael Saylor is now one level below Satoshi Nakamoto in the way that people appreciate him as an icon within Bitcoin. And he is going one step further because he understands that he needs to build a community of believers, almost a cult that will follow him wherever he goes or whatever he says. And he understands that by creating merch is very simple symbols, objects, that other people can use to symbolize that they're part of this community, that they're believing in what MicroStrategy is doing. So MicroStrategy, the best way you can look at it right now is it's a company that people can invest in on the stock market that gives them exposure to Bitcoin, but not only exposure to Bitcoin, but exposure to Bitcoin in a leveraged way because they're borrowing money to buy more Bitcoin. They're issuing convertible notes to buy more Bitcoin. They're selling stock to buy more Bitcoin. So everything that they're doing is focused on just accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible. And the people that are investing in MicroStrategy are the believers that Bitcoin is going to go up in the future. And they believe that Michael Saylor and the team at MicroStrategy is actually one of the most intelligent teams to accumulate as much Bitcoin as humanly possible and to leverage creative ways of selling equity and debt in order to maximize the Bitcoin treasury of the company. Now, here is this image by Michael Saylor. It's an AI generated image, of course, but what it comes down to is I just wanted to clarify that at this point, Michael Saylor is all in on Bitcoin, to the point that he even renamed the company, rebranded it, and is now coming out with merch to build his cult and community around the belief that Bitcoin is going to go up in the future. And his prediction that he shared at Bitcoin 2024 last year, which was an industry event, he believes that one Bitcoin can actually increase in value to, what is it? I believe $13 million per Bitcoin in the next 21 years. So his sole purpose right now with MicroStrategy is just to accumulate as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. And in addition to the rebrand, he came out with another very clever strategy. So here is a tweet which is recapping all of this. Just in, Saylor's strategy expects its convertible preferred stock, Strike, to be listed on the Nasdaq tomorrow. So what is Strike? Strike is another set of stocks. And here is an overview of this Strike convertible preferred stock. So perpetual preferred stock that is convertible into MSTR common stock at a conversion ratio of 10 to 1. So meaning that you need 10 units of Strike in order to get one MSTR. And you can use this option to convert it perpetually, meaning forever. This provides investors with an embedded perpetual call option on one of the most volatile and liquid large cap stocks in the world. It has an attractive fixed dividend yield of 8%, and there will be 7,300,000 shares that will be issued. And initially, it was only going to be 2.5 million shares, but they upsized it from the initial offering because there was already a lot of demand or signs that that the market would love an offering like this one. And each of those shares will be offered at $80 per share, and the net proceeds from the offering will be roughly $563 million. And all of that will probably be used to buy up more Bitcoin. So the way that I interpret this is that Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy and their management team is constantly looking for new, interesting financial instruments that they can use to raise more money on the financial markets and use that money to buy up more Bitcoin. Again, they've already accumulated around 480,000 Bitcoin, and with this $563 million, they can buy up a lot more Bitcoin again. So this Strike is just another very interesting financial instrument for them to raise that money. MicroStrategy announces pricing of its Strike preferred stock, offering and upsizes the deal from 250 million to 584 million. So here, a press release, MicroStrategy announces pricing of Strike preferred stock, STRK. Okay, now here is another article, again, emphasizing that Michael Saylor initially wanted to raise less money, 250 million, but since the market validated the offering and since there was a lot of demand for it, they decided to just raise a bunch more money. And MicroStrategy is now in such a very interesting position where the market loves them. They really understand what investors are looking for, what speculators on the stock market are looking for, and they just keep coming out with interesting products to attract more money. So they are almost financial alchemists. They're creating money out of thin air, almost. And that's what they're doing. They're just finding as many different possible scenarios and tools to raise money in a creative way to buy up more Bitcoin. And recently, Michael Saylor came out and announced his end game. And his end game is to create the very first Bitcoin bank in the world. And this will be his $1 trillion play. So basically, he believes that he can bring the value of the company to $1 trillion by shifting from being a SaaS company to being a Bitcoin bank, the very first and largest Bitcoin bank in the world. And yeah, this landed him on the cover of Forbes as the Bitcoin alchemist. So basically creating money and value out of thin air by coming up with all of these interesting financial instruments. Now, the next thing that I'm going to discuss is just some food for thought. So The people that have been on the cover of Forbes don't have the best track record. Of course, there are many with a really great track record that have done phenomenal things in the world. But there's also a handful of people which the world thought they were really amazing and were doing good stuff, were doing good things in the world. But in reality, they were big frauds and scammers. So one of them is Elizabeth Holmes, which is the founder of Theranos, which was basically a company which created medical technology, which would, with a little, a little injection in your finger, it could help you to understand whether you were healthy or whether you were having diseases in your body. So they were claiming that they had very disruptive innovations in the medical technology space. In reality, they were just one big scam. They didn't have the product. They were selling a false dream to investors, and they didn't really have anything to show for. Similar to FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried was also on the cover of Forbes magazine, and he also pulled off a very big scam. Basically, he commingled customer funds on the exchange with his company treasury to make different kinds of investments. And then when the market tanked and investors wanted to pull out their money, or some big investors were liquidated, there was not enough liquidity on the platform. And basically this caused almost, I would say, the previous bear market. And now, finally, they are starting to repay some of these FTX funds. But the point that I want to make is, yes, it's amazing. And I personally really believe that Michael Saylor is a visionary and that he is actually going to build a $1 trillion company and that he has the best intentions and that he's going to deliver upon it. But being on the Forbes cover doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually going to make it, because sometimes they also make mistakes. What do you believe? Let me know in the comments below. Is Michael Saylor going to be a success story, or do you believe it's going to be one big failure? So type success in the comments below if you believe he's going to be one big success and that he's going to build a $1 trillion company, or type failure if you believe that ultimately he's going to make MicroStrategy crumble under all of the debt that he has raised and all of the complex financial instruments, and maybe it's a smoke screen for something bigger happening in the background. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Okay. So MicroStrategy snaps up more Bitcoin. Why did the company decide to rebrand? Well, let's talk about that. So MicroStrategy, now it's called Strategy, they just want to signal to the rest of the world. So doing a rebrand is something very massive. One previous massive rebrand was, for example, when Facebook changed their name to Meta. Now, they made this rebrand because they wanted to signal to the rest of the world and investors on the stock market that their vision is to become part of the metaverse and to become a really solid player within that ecosystem. Now, the rebrand from MicroStrategy to Strategy is a signal to the rest of the world and to the investors and institutions and the capital markets that there's just one strategy that MicroStrategy is doubling down on, hence the name Strategy. And that strategy is to buy up and to accumulate as much Bitcoin as humanly possible and to become the first Bitcoin bank in the world and to become a $1 trillion company. That is a simple strategy that Michael Saylor is pursuing. And last year, Michael Saylor revealed that he was going to raise $42 billion to buy up more Bitcoin within a period of 3 years' time. Half of it through selling equity and half of it by selling or raising through debt. And he has already bought quite a lot of it. So he already bought 66% of next year's $10 billion target in just 10 days. So yeah, basically he's not waiting around. Michael Saylor is very serious about all of this. And he's saying Bitcoin is the ultimate asset. Bitcoin is emerging as the world's reserve capital network. It's better than real estate, better than stocks, and there's no company or property you'd rather hold for the long term. Now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with Michael Saylor? Is Bitcoin the best store of value? Michael Saylor just continuously buys more and more Bitcoin. Here, Michael Saylor restarts the Bitcoin buying spree after MicroStrategy rebranded to Strategy. And Strategy already added another 7,633 Bitcoin ever since they rebranded, very recently. So here is this announcement. MSTR, which is MicroStrategy, has acquired 7,633 Bitcoin for roughly $742 million. That's crazy. And here you see a chart of their Bitcoin holdings over time. So in 2020, they started with a very small amount of Bitcoin, and recently they have accelerated their Bitcoin accumulation. So you see this massive spike at the end. And right now we're at a point in the market where retail investors are absolutely panicking. They're thinking that they've missed the top and that the market is going to crash from here. But here's one of the smartest people in the world, Michael Saylor. He was educated at MIT. He has an insane track record. He has a very great team. He's attracting a lot of talent right now. And he is buying up so much Bitcoin right now. And the whole difference between retail investors and MicroStrategy is retail investors, like average investors like you or me, most of them are investing with their life savings or like an extra $100 that they made or an extra few $1,000, or maybe they had a nice quarterly profit with their company and they want to invest it and they want to multiply it as soon as possible. So retail investors, they want to get rich today. They want to make $1 million tomorrow. But real wealth is built over the long term. And Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy understand this. Also, BlackRock understands this. BlackRock has accumulated more than 580,000 Bitcoin. They're not in it for the short term, they're in it for the long term. Because these large institutions, they understand the potential price appreciation of Bitcoin. And if you're selling your Bitcoin right now, you're selling it to MicroStrategy and BlackRock. And they're not going to sell it back to you. If you're thinking like, all right, no, I'm just going to sell my Bitcoin right now and buy it back in the bear market, there's a very big likelihood, and it's not a guarantee, but there's a big likelihood that Bitcoin is not going to dip as far as in previous cycles, because now there are a lot bigger buyers that are more sophisticated, that understand the long-term trajectory, that are not selling and that are only accumulating. Here you see this diagram by Quinton. He's saying institutions are buying up all of the newly mined Bitcoin. Here, only 16,200 Bitcoin have been mined, and institutions have purchased more than 3 times that amount of Bitcoin. So miners are producing a new supply of Bitcoin every single day, every single month, but institutions are buying up much more than that. They are buying up all of the Bitcoin that retail investors are panic selling on the market right now. And in addition, they're also buying up all of the Bitcoin that miners are producing. So soon there will not be enough Bitcoin for the average investor to go around, or the price of Bitcoin will be way too high for the average investor to own Bitcoin. And I believe that over the long term, Bitcoin will start to become an asset that's only accessible and available to the elite, or the ones that have bought into it early. And right now we're still early because countries are about to enter the market. Other big institutions are about to enter the market. Pension funds are also about to enter the market in even bigger scales, and you can get in before them. You can accumulate now still while Bitcoin is super cheap. And yes, 100K Bitcoin, sure. If you compare it to the past 15 years, now Bitcoin is expensive. But if you compare it to the future potential of where Bitcoin's price can go, then it's still dirt cheap. And MicroStrategy and BlackRock and other large institutions, they understand it. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe that in the future, Bitcoin will be an asset class that will be only accessible for the elite, that it will be unaffordable for the average person because it's going to appreciate so much in value? And here, the final, one of the final few things I want to share with you is this. So right now we're seeing an international arms race for countries that are planning to adopt Bitcoin. So we're seeing that El Salvador, which is of course the main one that started all of this, they've already embraced Bitcoin as a legal tender, and they're accumulating Bitcoin every single day. But there's more countries which are getting to that level, like Switzerland, United States, Brazil, and there are many more which are now starting to consider adding Bitcoin to their treasuries. And when countries are entering the market, they're entering the market with billions to invest. Now, yes, The next thing that I want to show you is this very simple diagram, and the whole point or the whole message behind this diagram is the following. There is around $900 trillion of wealth spread across different assets, bonds, stocks, real estate, watches, you name it. And in the next few years, we're probably going to see a big redistribution of wealth across the different assets, especially now that millennials, my generation, is slowly going to inherit more and more money from the baby boomer generation, our parents, and we're about to become one of the richest generations in history. We're going to inherit so much money, but what are we going to invest our money in? Are we going to invest it in boring stocks and boring real estate? Or are we going to invest it in stuff that we actually understand, like digital assets? We are the first generation of digital natives, and we like stuff like digital assets. But here's the thing, even though there is around $900 trillion worth of assets in the world, there's a very limited amount of Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation. And a lot of that is locked up. People are hodling it. It's stored on ledgers, on Trezors, cold storage wallets, or bought up by large institutions like BlackRock and MicroStrategy that aren't buying. So soon we are going to see a massive supply shock because more and more people are going to want to buy the limited amount of Bitcoin that is actually available on the market. And you can compare this to a bidding war where a lot of buyers are at an auction and everyone is bidding for a very rare piece of art like a Picasso, and people are just going to bid up against each other to be able to own that very rare Picasso or that very limited supply of Bitcoin that is available on the market. So yeah, what I mentioned, there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation, of which, and this is what people keep forgetting, but different estimates show that there's around 1.5 to 3 million Bitcoin that is actually lost. So people that have lost their passwords or their private keys. So in reality, there's actually 19.5 billion or maybe even, 18 million Bitcoin that are that will ever be in circulation because a significant chunk of it is already gone. So Bitcoin is a lot more scarce than most people realize. And the available supply is being bought up by the institutions. But again, what I mentioned, we are still early, guys. The institutions have now only recently joined this market. They have been very aggressive over the period of the past 12 months, but still it is possible for you and me as individuals to still accumulate a lot more Bitcoin before it becomes unaffordable. And I do this by dollar cost averaging and by mining Bitcoin. So right now we're managing around 80,000 Bitcoin mining machines, which are producing new Bitcoin. And we're not selling, we're accumulating. All right, so we dollar cost average and we keep on mining more Bitcoin. Now, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts as well. Do you believe that Bitcoin can go to $150,000 in this bull market cycle or even higher? Or do you believe that we've already seen the top and Bitcoin is going to crash from here onwards? Well, thanks for watching this video, and do me one quick favor. If you enjoyed watching this video, if you thought it was useful, then please smash the like button. It will help me to understand your feedback, that you got good value out of it. And if you haven't done so yet, also make sure to subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be posting regular videos just like this one to help you to make sense of everything that's going on in the markets and to make sure that you maximize your profits as a crypto investor. Well, thanks for watching. Peace out, take care, and I will see you in the next one.